For many couples, starting a family seems like the natural next step after getting married. However, for some couples it is not even a possibility. This was unfortunately true for a young couple from Canada, Ron and Natalie Trecroce. The Trecroces were absolutely devastated and hurt after finding out the painful truth that they would never be able to conceive a child. It was the one thing they wanted more than anything, to start a family. After years of trying with no success, the Trecroces realized that it was time to give up on their dream and start looking elsewhere. It took years until the couple started to recover from the bad news. They finally decided that they were not going to give up on bringing children into their family just yet. They realized that the only option they had was to adopt. Although they initially wanted a biological child, they knew that they would love any adopted child just as much as a biological one. In 1997, when the Trecroces made this big decision that would ultimately change their life forever, the process of adopting was typically long and tedious. Fate and luck just happened to steer the young Canadian couple towards the country of Romania. During the 1990s, there were countless amounts of abandoned children in Romania in desperate need of healthcare and a good home. Little did the couple know that when they drove into the city of Arad, they would be coming across an amazing new addition to their family. After meeting the sweet and smiley little girl, Rodica Lavina Farkas, they fell in love at first sight, and instantly knew they had found who they had been looking for. They had no idea, however, that there were going to be more surprises before heading home to Canada to start their new life. In 1997, Ron and Natalie Trecroce wanted one thing more than anything, a baby. Since they first got married, they had been discussing their dream of having children together. However, after many years of trying to conceive with no luck, the young Canadian couple started to get frustrated and disappointed. They would have done anything in the world to start a family. The couple began to look into every option possible to make their dream a reality. After recovering from the bad news that they would not be able to conceive, the couple decided to look in a different direction. Although they wanted their own biological children, the Trecroces had to give up on that option and seek different alternatives. They knew that what they wanted was a child they could call their own. If that meant the baby was not biologically theirs, they would still love them unconditionally. The young couple knew that their only option was to adopt. However, back in 1997 the process was extremely difficult and long. The Trecroces were willing to be patient and do whatever it was they had to do in order to adopt a baby. This included traveling to Romania. Before they knew it, the couple were in Romania searching for the future addition to their family. On a whim, the couple decided to visit the city of Arad, located by the Mureș River in western Romania. They had no idea how soon they were about to meet their new daughter. Once they arrived, they were introduced to a sweet little girl named Rodica Lavina Farkas. As soon as they laid their eyes on her, they knew that she was the one they were looking for. They knew it was destiny that brought them to her. Natalie and Ron's pure excitement suddenly came to a halt when they heard the tragic news about the sweet girl. Unfortunately, Rodica was in very bad health. The 1-year-old who had a constant smile on her face was sadly malnourished. Due to this, she had a long list of health issues and was prone to disease more than other children. Natalie and Ron's heart broke when they heard the news. Little Rodica was placed in the Arad orphanage right after she was born. The young couple were told that Rodica was brought to the orphanage because her mother was very poor and could not afford to take care of her sick child. Rodica was not only malnourished, she also suffered from rickets, which caused her bones to be extremely weak and fragile due to a lack of vitamin D in her body. Ron and Natalie, who had already fallen in love with the little girl, decided they would do whatever it took to give Rodica a healthy and happy life. The couple had to obtain her complete medical background and history so that they could provide the little girl with proper medical attention and treatments. They were prepared to do, and pay, whatever they had to in order to ensure the little girl's happiness and good health. Nothing would get in their way. The couple began to work hard day and night, in order to obtain the information they needed. Due to a lack of organization in Romania, this process was much more difficult than either of them had imagined. The couple refused to be discouraged and continued on the journey of unraveling the little girl's past. They collected every piece of paper and information that was available, and what Rodica's new adoptive mom and dad discovered left them both in complete shock. The Trecroces thought it would be a good idea to first look at Rodica's family tree, and go from there. As they collected every bit of information they could, they tried to look for some clue that would help them out. They suddenly came upon a very shocking discovery. Rodica was not an only child, she had a sibling. Rodica's mom gave birth to, and gave away, another child as well. Radhika didn't just have a sibling, she in fact had a big sister. Her sister was also given away and placed in an orphanage nearby before Radhika. Ron and Natalie were surprised to learn that the two sisters were fostered in completely separate orphanages. This meant that the two little girls got split up when they were very young. This also most likely meant that the Farkas sisters had no clue of the other's existence. The reason why the sisters were both given away and separated was still unknown. Ron and Natalie now had a new task at hand, to find Radhika's big sister. Determined, the couple was not going to give up anytime soon. While some new adoptive parents would feel uneasy about the situation at hand, the Trecroces had already decided that they were not going home to Canada without two sweet new daughters. At last, Ron and Natalie found Radhika's older sister, and adopted her immediately. The older sister's name was Janina Farkas, and she looked almost exactly like little Radhika. Even though the sisters had never met, they instantly connected. The new family of four clicked so well, it almost seemed too good to be true. Finally, the Trecroces got the family they always dreamed of. They were excited to go home and start their new life as a family. However, that wasn't the end of their happy story. After the new family went back to Canada, they continued to dig through the family tree. It just so happened that Janina and Radhika were not the only children that their mother gave birth to. The two sisters actually had 6 different brothers and sisters. The Trecroces tried everything in their power and spent a great amount of money in hopes to find the siblings, but in the end there was no hope. To this day, the identity and location of the other 6 siblings is unknown. Although the couple was disappointed that they could not find the other siblings, they realized that it might have been for the best. They were extremely lucky and grateful to find Radhika's sister in the first place. The fact that they became a family of 4 in just a few days still is unbelievable. Even though their hearts were in the right place, taking care of 8 children would have been a Herculean task. The Trecroces wanted to create a new and happy life for their 2 new daughters, who had already been through so much. So they decided to give them new names. Janina was named Sophie and Radhika was named Danielle. The new names fit the girls' personalities very well. Moving to a completely different country and culture had some emotional strain on the family, but the girls adapted to their new home and environment quickly. Everything was perfect, but Ron and Natalie still felt like there was something missing. After changing their daughters' names, the new parents felt bad that their girls had no more ties to their Romanian heritage and culture. They decided to keep their daughters' previous Romanian names as middle names. This ensured that they could always be aware of their roots no matter what. The couple was pleased with their decision and felt that the small gesture could go a long way as the girls would older and start to wonder about where they came from. Unfortunately, Sophie and Danielle were just 2 of the countless amounts of abandoned children in Romania during the 1990s. At the time, Romania was under the dictatorship of Nicolae Ceausescu. He was an intensely religious politician and communist. Therefore, he did not allow the use of any form of birth control throughout the country. This resulted in women, who were often poor, having more children than they could financially afford. Since most families in Romania could not care for all of their children, they had no choice but to give them up. The lucky kids were brought to orphanages, with hopes to be adopted like Sophie and Danielle. Sadly, many of the unwanted children were left alone and abandoned on the streets where they died from malnutrition or other health issues. Sophie and Danielle were extremely lucky, not only to be adopted, but also to be reunited. The sisters' touching story of fate and luck became known by many all over the world. One filmmaker was especially inspired by the Trecroce family, and asked for Ron and Natalie's permission to create a documentary telling their miraculous tale. The couple was reluctant at first, not sure if the film would be a positive thing or not for their family. In the end, they said yes, in hopes that the film might encourage others to adopt children as well. When she grew into a young adult, Sophie decided to edit the documentary and create a short movie. She uploaded the short film to YouTube, and Sophie and Danielle's story reached millions of viewers. The video was a huge success in doing what Sophie had hoped for, raising awareness of homeless children who were waiting to be adopted. It also allowed for multiple people who were also adopted like Sophie and Danielle to come out and share their stories as well. After creating the short film, Sophie had a self-discovery and realized that she had a strong passion for taking photos. When she reached the age of 18, she decided to pursue her dream and studied photography at a university. It is obvious that this talented young adult is going to have a bright and successful future ahead of her. Sophie remains very grateful to her adoptive parents, who made a life like this even possible. Sophie made another important decision in her life. She decided to learn about her heritage and find out more about where she came from. She wanted to learn more about her other family members who still live in Romania. Danielle wanted the same, so the two sisters started digging into their past. They want to fly together to Romania soon so that they can hopefully meet their biological relatives and visit their native country. Danielle says that she plans on visiting her homeland of Romania sometime in 2018. Danielle is now a student in college and will be receiving her bachelor's degree soon. Sophie and Danielle are still extremely close, they even live only minutes away from one another. They have something more than sisterly love, they are each other's best friend. They will always have an incredible story to tell their children and grandchildren someday. It really is incredible how in the end, everything worked out for the Trecroce family. Not only did Ron and Natalie get two beautiful children just like they always dreamed of, the two sisters got each other and two loving and dedicated parents. It is hard to imagine what would have happened to the Farkas sisters if the Trecroces never went to Romania and never decided to adopt. It just goes to show how everything really happens for a reason.